It's time for another Q&A. It's been a while. I thought I'd jump right in. I got a lot of requests from you guys to do another Q&A. So I thought it'd be fun to kind of answer your questions. So we're going to do all of that coming up right now. Hey everybody, welcome aboard to another Orange Grove 55 Q&A. It's been a while, right, since we've done one of these, but I thought it was time, and I got a lot of great questions from you guys, and I thought it'd be just fun to kind of dive in and answer your questions. So I got a few really great ones here, and we're gonna jump right in. So let's go. All right, so CSRS has three questions for me, and I'm going to address every one of these. Number one, after Disneyland Forward is confirmed or announced, how long do you think it'll be before they start the prep work for rerouting the infrastructure so they can build things like the new parking structure? Also, what year do you predict we will see the first fruits of this project, likely a Hollywoodland revamp, occur? Okay, CSRS, thank you so much. I do appreciate your questions. You always, man, with all the Q&As, whenever you do a question, it's always really great. And I do appreciate that, man. I really do. But in terms of this one right here with Disneyland Forward, here's the thing. Disneyland Forward is very much a forward thinking kind of project. Okay. It's very much, they're planting the seeds for the next 30, 40, 50 years. So to be quite honest with you, I really don't know when we're going to start to see the prep work for a lot of that infrastructure, because I think this is more about just kind of locking down things with the city. I don't think it's really, there's not like a sense of urgency for the resort to jump in there right away and get this stuff built. I think it's more like really the long game, like well beyond Bob Chapek kind of stuff, So I don't know. I think it's more years than months, to be quite honest with you. Now, you also ask in here, what do you predict? When will we see the first fruits of this project, like the Hollywoodland revamp? The Hollywoodland revamp, I think, is coming, I would say, within the next decade. So that within the next 10 years, I think Hollywoodland will be addressed. But I do think what will come first for California Adventure will be the Avengers e-ticket. Okay, Marvel, the MCU, it prints money for Disney. There's no way they're going to sleep on a big attraction based on the Avengers. The research and development is already there for the attraction. I mean, a lot of it, that prep work for that ride has already been done. It's just basically just have to, put shovel to dirt and start to build it at this point. So I think that will come first. Once that is built, there's really no other free land available for the park. They're going to have to start looking at existing areas of the park for expansion. And I think Hollywoodland is the most logical place to look. So yes, within the next 10 years, I do believe they will tackle the Hollywoodland area. In terms of like the overall Disneyland Forward project, though, and infrastructure, stuff like that, I think we're looking more at years as opposed to months. That's kind of where I stand on that. So your second question, you ask me, do you think a Goosebumps land could work at a Disney park? Disney did work with R.L. Stone for that What If series on Disney Plus to be Disney's response to the classic Monsters land at Epic Universe. Okay, that's Universal's new resort in Orlando, by the way, for those of you that are not familiar. CS also goes on to say, also, do you think the Sonic the Hedgehog series could work in a Disney park as a theme land? That could be another response to Super Nintendo World at Universal, and Disney did work with Sega to have Sonic and Wreck-It Ralph. Okay, so CS, thank you for this. Another great question. No, to answer both of those in terms of Goosebumps and Sonic, absolutely not. Absolutely 1000% not. The last thing Disney wants to do is start chasing Universal's tail. Okay. And look, a lot of fans kind of get into this thing where Disney needs to respond to everything Universal does. And what you're suggesting here, and I understand where you're coming from, CS, like Disney should respond to the competition, and maybe they should, but I think this is the wrong approach in my opinion, my humble opinion. I think that Disney can't react to Universal like with a similar thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, so Universal's making a Monsters Land, so now we have to make a Monsters Land. Oh, Universal's making a video game theme land, so now we have to figure out how to make a video game theme land. That's not necessarily how Disney should respond. Disney is the top dog in the theme park industry, and they should act like it, and they shouldn't be reactive. And this is what you're suggesting here is very reactive. Okay. And I don't think it would be very successful as a strategy. Disney needs to do what they do best, and they need to work within the parameters of their franchises and their IPs. And just kind of doing something similar to what Universal is doing is not the road to success. Look, Nintendo is the Disney of the video game world. You're never going to find a franchise in the video game world more iconic than Nintendo. You know, Super Mario is basically Mickey Mouse when it comes to video games. There's nothing that Disney can do competitively in the video game kind of sphere that's going to compete with Super Mario or Donkey Kong or Zelda or any of that. And they shouldn't try to do that. Disney needs to compete with Super Nintendo World by creating themed environments that are well done. And that doesn't necessarily mean another video game land. You know, when Disney responded to Harry Potter Wizarding World, they didn't respond with like a magical land, right? They responded with Star Wars, something totally different. That's the route they need to go. They need to respond with something that's heavily immersive, heavily innovative, revolutionary, but do their own thing. Just because Universal is doing monsters and just because Universal is doing video games doesn't mean that Disney needs to go ahead and quickly scramble to find something monsters and video game related. I completely think that I think that's a totally wrong strategy and direction for Disney to go, in my opinion. Disney should lead, and they shouldn't be chasing Universal's tail. That's a bad strategy. Number 3, what are your thoughts on the rumored Minions Villain Con attraction replacing Shrek at Universal Orlando? The moving walkway style shoring, I'm not sure what that is, shoring, maybe shooting gallery, seems first of its kind and could be fun. Okay, so in regards to like the ride system, I'm not really familiar with it, to be honest with you, CS, but it probably is really cool. Universal does have a knack for creating some really cool ride systems, whether that be Forbidden Journey, whether that be Spider-Man. They definitely have this knack for that, you know, create these really unique ride systems. But this is the problem with Universal, and I've said this many times. They have a franchise problem. They're either licensing their stuff out way too much, like they're going to these outside companies for popular IP, whether that be The Simpsons, Harry Potter, whatever it is, right? They're always going outside of their kind of realm to get these popular franchises. But when they actually do look internal and do use a Universal franchise, they dip into the same 2 or 3 franchises over and over and over again. How many Minion rides and how many Minion lands and this, that, and the other do we need at Universal Parks? The Minions have taken over Universal. There's so much Minion stuff at every Universal Park. Do we need another Minion ride? I would say no. I would say absolutely not. And this is the thing. I commended Universal when they bought DreamWorks Animation because it added a huge library of animation for them to use. And so what's the first thing they decide to do is replace Shrek with the tired old Minions again. It's tired. The Minions franchise is tired, Universal. And this is why I said Universal should have made a bigger play for Warner Media, but they slept on it, and they let Discovery buy them. If Universal Comcast would have snatched up Warner Media, they would have had DC, the Looney Tunes. They would have had an enormous slate of franchises to work with. And unfortunately, you know what? They didn't do that. They slept on it, and Discovery got it. Okay, so sorry about that. So yeah, I think that the ride system might be very, very cool, but I think that the actual theming to Minions is a miss, unfortunately. CSRS, thank you so so much. I do appreciate your questions. They were phenomenal as usual. And the next question comes from Abandoned Lizard. Should Disney Plus start making more adult aimed, hard TV 14 and TVMA rated content as Bob Chapek thinks they should? Starting with Marvel's Moon Knight, then Lizzie McGuire, the reboot, and ending with Marvel Echo and Daredevil. What can they do to make it work? Okay, Abandoned Lizard, thank you so much, brother. I do appreciate this question. Yes, they absolutely, Disney Plus absolutely needs to get into offering more adult content. Look, if Disney wants to be a serious contender in the streaming sphere, they have to start kind of diversifying Disney Plus. The family friendly thing definitely has a ceiling. You know what I'm saying? It definitely has a ceiling, and they're going to have to start branching out into more adult stuff. And Michael Eisner, even long before streaming even existed, Michael Eisner recognized this. When he took over Disney in the mid 1980s, he recognized that Disney's going to have to make some adult content, right, to survive. And that's why he started, like, that's why they started doing, like, Touchstone Pictures, Hollywood Pictures. They bought Miramax. They have all these other ancillary brands and studios they can use to release this more adult content. When it comes to Disney Plus, they need to do the same thing. They need to add, hopefully they can gain the full rights to Hulu and add a Hulu tile on Disney Plus. You mentioned on here, what can they do to make it work? Well, put it behind a parental control. Give parents the control to decide what content their kids can watch. So, you can have an option on Disney Plus where they can make a parental control, like a blocking feature where the Hulu tile is not visible if someone under a certain age is viewing or logged in to Disney Plus. I think that's the way to go. But Abandoned Lizard, they absolutely need to get into this more adult content. Anecdotally for myself, the only time I really leave Disney Plus and go to like something like Netflix is when I want to get something more adult, when I want to watch. Look, I've been binging this show called Ozark on Netflix lately, which I absolutely love. But it's about like money laundering and like crime lords and cartels. It's very much an adult show. I can't get that. I can't get anything like that on Disney Plus. And I wouldn't have to leave Disney Plus and go to Netflix for that stuff if like they did what you suggested, where they had more adult content. And again, I understand the concern, where, it's got the Disney name on it, but you can add parental controls and block certain things for the younger viewers. I think that's really the way to go. So yeah, absolutely, Abandoned Lizard, to answer your question in short, they should get involved in that. I think Chapek is right on that. I think if they want to be a serious contender in the streaming war, they got to diversify. They got to get the more adult content, because anecdotally for myself, that's when I'm leaving Disney Plus, is when I want to get that more adult content. So why should I go outside of that to get it? I should be able to get it in Disney Plus. Disney has the resources. They have a lot of stuff, Hulu and what have you, where they can provide that content to me if I wanted it. They should definitely provide it. Abandoned Lizard, thank you, brother, so much for your question. I do appreciate it. And the last and final two questions comes from Mr. Matthew Murr. Okay, so he's asking the first question. He's asking, how do you personally feel about Disney parks destroying this sense of escapism with retheming certain rides, such as Splash Mountain, to themes that some may view as woke? I think there's a fine line Disney needs to ride between providing escapism without raising any eyebrows. Okay, Matthew, thank you so much for this question. I don't think, look, in terms of, like, I'll use your example as Splash Mountain to kind of go with this. I don't think that you're destroying any kind of escapism with retheming Splash Mountain to Princess and the Frog. At the end of the day, it's just going to be a Princess and the Frog attraction, right? we all know through the media and through social media why they're retheming it. But I think once you get on the attraction, that's not gonna be apparent. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's just gonna be a Princess and the Frog ride. So I'm not really sure what you're saying here in terms of like ruining the escapism. It's still gonna be a fantasy-based attraction. It's just gonna be themed to a different franchise than it was before. I have no issue with that. And in fact, I've made many videos where I support the retheme. I think that for Disneyland, I think that this Princess and the Frog retheme actually makes a lot of sense because of where it's located in between New Orleans Square and Critter Country. It's kind of perfect for Princess and the Frog. You have a franchise, a movie that's heavily based in that New Orleans thing, right? But you have a lot of critters and alligators and fireflies and animals that sort of resonates with the Critter Country side of the attraction. It kind of fits both. It really is, in terms of theming, kind of perfect. So no, I don't think it ruins the escapism. I think that, once the attraction opens and generation after generation experiences this attraction, they're not going to know really the motivations for the change or why that ride is here. Look, in like I think it was in the late 90s, Michael Eisner went through the Pirates of the Caribbean and he changed a lot of the scenes in Pirates of the Caribbean. And what you would say now would be woke changes. The scene where the pirates are chasing the women, that was Michael Eisner. He changed it. Before, the pirates were chasing the women in a much more sexualized fashion. It was, Michael Eisner went in there and he added food like loaves of bread underneath the women's arms. So it looked like the pirates weren't chasing the women because they were like attracted to them. They were chasing them because they had food, right? That today would be seen as a woke change. But how many people know when they ride Pirates of the Caribbean? How many people know that change even took place? And how many people even know that change happened because of that reason? Not many. I'm a Disney nerd. Okay. So I remember this shit, but 99.99999% of the theme park going guests have no idea that change even occurred and certainly have no idea why it occurred. And that's going to be the same thing with Princess and the Frog. In 30 or 40 years from now, when people are riding that attraction, it's just going to be a Princess and the Frog ride. There's going to be no one's going to remember why they changed it. And the ride itself isn't addressing these socio-political issues. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. The escapism is still there. So I don't really understand. Like, it doesn't ruin any escapism at all, in my opinion. So look, my big thing with this stuff, if you're going to retheme something, right, just do it with care. Just give the Imagineers a proper budget and the creative freedom to do it right. That's all I ask. If you want to change something, that's fantastic. The Disney parks are all about change. Just do it in a way that works. That's quality. And as long as they give the Imagineers enough creative freedom and a big enough budget to do this retheme of Splash Mountain in a good quality way, I'm all for it. I'm all for it. We've seen, look, Tower of Terror rethemed to Mission Breakout. It worked out fantastic. These things can be done. It's just all about the execution creatively, in my opinion. All right. And your next question says, what do you think will be the biggest turning point for the Walt Disney Company in the near future? The appointment of a new CEO or the D23 100th anniversary convention? Okay, Matthew, I don't think either one of those things is going to be the biggest turning point. I actually think the biggest turning point for Disney already happened. That was the Pandy. The Pandy completely changed entertainment, whether it be theme parks or whether it be how we consume content at the movie theater or at home. The Pandy changed everything. And it changed the way we go to a theme park with the reservations. It changed the way we consume movies through streaming and, release windows tightening. In some cases, release windows completely being non-existent. The Pandy was a huge turning point for the Walt Disney Company. Okay, that's the turning point. Look, a new CEOs come and go at Disney. It's happened many, many times. And CEOs, I mean, it's a big thing. I mean, CEOs have a huge impact on the direction of the company at any given time. But we've been there, done that, and the 100th anniversary of the Walt Disney Company, again, is a huge milestone. But Disney has seen many big milestones in the past, whether it be Disneyland's 50th anniversary, whether it be Walt Disney World's current 50th anniversary, whatever it is, it doesn't matter what number it is, whether it be 50, 75, 100. We've had big anniversaries before. And while they're important, they're not a turning point. They're not something that's like changing the company fundamentally at its core. The Pandy, though, the Pandy did that. The Pandy changed everything. Absolutely everything. It's continuing to change. And I think eventually everything will shake out and there will be a normal again. But I do think that we will never get to the point of the pre-Pandy where we have these really lengthy theatrical windows and things like that. I think people have really been conditioned now for that stay-at-home kind of experience with content. Just everything, the Pandy, I mean, it changed entertainment forever, and theme parks, everything. So that was the turning point, Matthew, the Pandy. It wasn't none of this other stuff like the CEO and the 100th anniversary. That's little stuff. The Pandy, though, was big. We'll be feeling the effects of the Pandy for decades. But thank you, Matthew. I do appreciate the great questions. I want to thank everybody for tuning in today to this latest OG55 Q&A. I want to thank everyone who contributed to the questions today, whether it be Matthew, CSRS, Abandoned Lizard. Great questions. I'm going to be doing more of these Q&As on a regular basis. I really love connecting with you guys and doing these. So I'm going to try to get more of these done. I used to do them back in the day, like 2017, 2018. I did a lot of Q&As and I miss doing them. I'm going to get back into it. So if you have a question for a future Q&A, comment with it down below. I would love to hear from you. Thank you all so much for watching. And as always, have a wonderful, wonderful day.